Hello everybody and welcome to Spire July. This is July 31st, 2018. This is July daily breakdown statistics. Something I might bring to the channel if there is a demand for it. If you guys want to see this, let me know. I do not mind making it. I kind of enjoy making it because I'm a weirdo and I like these type of weird statistic things. So right now I'm going to show the general consensus, which is of course important. As you can see over here, we're going to have a beautiful win amount. 22 wins in total for July, very sexy. Over here we have a lose amount, which is 9 losses for July. A little bit upset personally about the fact that we lost 9 runs. I didn't think we would, but we did. And then down here we will have a beautiful win percentage. So our win rate for July in total was 70.96%. Not great, not good. I would have preferred 80% or higher, but you know, this is my first time doing this. I did every single daily. We got wrecked by the lethality. I'm gonna really have to sit and go look at the cards, go look at the lethality and figure out how to strat that. So 70.96% win rate, 9 losses, 22 wins. Let's break down how this happened. So if you're gonna break down how this happened, I guess the first thing you need to look at is characters. Which characters we played, how many games we played with those characters, how many games we won with those characters, how many games we lost the characters. So let's start off with my boy, my favorite character in the full of Spire, the Ironclad. The Ironclad was very unfortunate in July. Although we had a few runs in the last couple of days with him, it was a massive gap of almost 3 weeks of no Ironclad. A little bit upsetting for me personally, but that's what it is. If you look at the Ironclad right here, we have 4 wins and 1 loss out of a total of 5 games. The Ironclad only got 5 games for the entirety of July. 5 out of 31 days was dedicated to the Ironclad. If you go on an average, each character should get roughly 10 games. So the fact that the Ironclad was so unlucky and got only 5 games, a little bit unfortunate. With sitting on an 80% win rate over here, it's very nice to have an 80% win rate. It makes sense, the Ironclad is pretty strong, but it's hard to get a good statistic on the Ironclad in this situation because there were so few games of them compared to the Silent and the Defect. The Ironclad has a much higher win rate as the chances to lose were low, and also of course the modifiers you get changed. Specifically, we will be getting into modifiers there, but for now that was our Ironclad stat. 5 games, 4 wins, 1 loss, 80% win rate. So it's very close to our overall win rate of 70%. You can see that the Ironclad is one of the stronger characters in the game. The fact that his win percentage is higher than our average win percentage means that he is an easier character or easier understandable for myself personally. Of course, these are my results on my skill and on my playstyle, so obviously it would vary from player to player, and of course the modifiers playing a massive role. The only one we lost on the Ironclad having the lethality in it too. So very interesting how you look at that and you see that you got that 80% win rate on the Ironclad being one of the stronger characters in the game. Almost Burning Blood, really good. Just really nice because it mitigates the amount of healing you have to do, which upgrades the amount of upgrades you can get, which improves your damage output, which makes the game easier in my personal opinion. So that is the Ironclad. Let's jump on over to the Silent, and here we are with our boy the Silent, one of the first 2 original characters in this Spire game. So very well known. Like you've played enough games with Silent to understand how it works and stuff, but ironically the Silent is our downfall. As you can see over here popping up right now, there should be 7 wins and 5 losses out of a grand total of 12 games. Now if you only have 7 wins out of 12 games, it means that we didn't do very well on them. As you can see in total, there should be a percentage around here that says we only had a 58.33% repetitive, of course, win rate. Now 58.33% is a far cry from the 80% win rate on the Ironclad. It makes me wonder why. What could have potentially caused that? Obviously, once again, modifiers, they play a very important role in Spire, and especially in the dailies. Unfortunately, I think the lethality was hit with the most lethality. The Silent, I apologize, was hit with the most lethality games out of everyone, which is insane if you think about it. So a little bit scary, but that 58.33% makes it more understandable, while 80% win rate in Ironclad suddenly falls down to a lower 70% overall win rate, 70.96% overall win rate to be exact. So 58.33% on the silent, of course, bringing that down. So silent, we had a little bit more of a rougher time. 5 of our 9 losses were on the silent. That's obviously the majority, and the silent had a total of 12 games this month, a little bit over the average. Of course, you're going on an average of it's 10.3 repetitive, but we're going to go on an average of 10 just to make it slightly easier for the explanation purposes of this video. So silent, you know, we did okay. Once again, modifiers really do play an important role in the dailies, but if you think about the fact that the win rate is so much lower on the silent, it makes you ask the question. The question is there, why is it so much lower? Ring of the Snake is amazing. You start each combat with additional 2 cards. That gives your first turn so much momentum as the silent to get ahead of the curve, try and get the advantage over enemy curves. But what is the problem coming into with dailies, right? Dailies, archetypes, the general archetype build of a character is not set in stone. Like the discard deck, the poison deck, the shiv deck, all of those, they aren't set in stone with the sun because of stuff like Hoarder, Vintage, Insanity, Lethality, Diverse, Binary, making it harder to get combo cards. Something like Brewmaster having a bunch of alchemizers. You know, all of these things, they matter. They are part of the strategy thing. So if you're only getting 2 extra cards in your first turn, just your first turn, and you do not draw the combo cards to make each turn after matter, since the silent, you know, it's more based on the fact that he, you know, has that poison synergy. So you get that poison early, the poison grows, it gets worse every single turn. You know, so your first turn you get it all out, and then you play defensively while the poison stacks and kills. The shivs, you get your powers out, your infinity blades, your accuracy. Then you get your shiv creation cards that get you many shivs, but shivs do more damage because you set it up in the first turn. You know, that I mean, of course the discard deck is a deck, but like it's really complicated, so I don't want to get into that right now. But the point I'm trying to make is that the Ring of Snakes isn't suitable for dailies, and Cursed Run, specifically with the silent, is so much better than just starting with the Ring of Snakes. So silent, a little bit of a lower win rate for us here, a little bit of a harder time for us, but still okay, above 50%, which is what I care about mostly. 58.33. It's not great. If it was 70-ish, I would be extremely happy, but if our overall win percentage is 70, we had to lose somewhere, and unfortunately that wasn't silent. Let's check out the Defect. And here we are with our boy, the Defect, the biggest winner of July in my opinion. He got the most dailies out of everyone, sitting on a grand total of 14 dailies played for him this July, of which there were 11 wins and 3 losses. So pretty good. It's a total of a 78.57% win rate on him, which is extremely good. It's above our overall win rate of 70.96%, but basically the same, although technically lower, but let's say the same win rate as the Ironclad. But considering the Ironclad had a pool of 5 matches and the Defect had a pool of 14 matches, it's insane that there's such a discrepancy between the two. 12 on the silent, 14 on the Defect, you know, more close to each other, and suddenly 5 on the Ironclad. And you ask yourself like, well, why? That's odd. I think it's odd. Do you not think it's odd? And I think it's odd, and I think lots of people will think it's odd when they look at it. But the Defect, he having the most powerful deck probably in the game. Now that I've had quite a few games with him, I've had a lot of time to really practice the Defect and understand how he works and the synergies and possibilities that he has because of a card called Seek, Echo Form, Electrodynamics. Those 3 cards break the game in my personal opinion, and they are amazing cards. My 3 favorite cards in the whole of Spire, ironically on the Defect character, although my favorite character is the Ironclad, make that the Defect just seems really strong. And some of our highest scores we got actually came from the Defect. Where the Defect fell short was Lethality. Lethality ruined the Defect. He doesn't want the extra damage because he's doing damage mainly, not necessarily, I mean there's claw decks and etc that you can go for, or for 1-0 costing decks, Beam Cell, Claw, but I like to go on the side of Echo Forms, Electrodynamics, Tempests, seeking out aggregates, double energing. he has the easiest way to break the game, and it does definitely show in that win rate of 78.57% over 14 games. That's a much larger pool, a much larger area, especially considering each game has unique modifiers. That I feel like the Defect really is the big win of July's daily run. The most games, kind of the funnest to play in dailies, but that's just because dailies can break them. Honestly, dailies can just really break the Defect. Very, very specific modifiers, if we want to go to the logistics of it, something along the lines of insanity breaks the daily. Shiny, the Defect's rares are among the best rares in the entire game, in my personal opinion. Stuff like Terminal, pretty good because of the ice and the frost armor and the Terminal working together to create like a infinite armor synergy that you can play and set up and then play other cards in between. Stuff like Frost Blast, doing damage and giving 2 armor is amazing. Glacier, giving 4 frost armor but 16 armor for the turn for 2 energy is amazing. I feel like the Defect is currently the strongest hero inside Spire and has the stats to prove it on this daily set. July's daily set of the Defect. What a showing. The Defect got a lot of love from Mega Crit. I was actually getting annoyed. At one point I was getting very tired of the Defect. I think it was like 4 dailies in a row of the Defect, and it was like 1 sign, then it was like 2 more defects, and it was like a sign, then it was a defect, then it was a sign, then it was like 2 more defects, and I was like, holy shit, can we just stop getting Defect? I felt like every daily was Defect, but actually I enjoyed his runs the most because he just breaks the game, and breaking games are fun. It's what we do, it's why we do it. So Defect, thank you very much for upping my win rate. I think the Defect played a big role in getting that win rate higher, and lots of our highest placements for the month were on the Defect, ironically. But for now, that's going to be the 3 main characters, each one of them for 80% win on the Ironclad, 58.33% on the Silent, and 78.57% on the Defect, for a grand total of a 70.96% win rate for July's dailies. We are going to head over to the modifiers and do a quick run through, not as in depth and in detail, to talk about what modifiers showed up, which modifiers ruined us, and which modifiers we won with, because I think that's just as important. Understanding the modifiers and how we played, and which modifiers we did well with and which modifiers we did bad with. Where do we need to improve our game to up our rank? And the only way to do that is to look into the stats, is to go down and look at the numbers. That's what I'll be doing in the next segment. I'll see you now at the modifier screen. Hello everybody, and I am back with the modifiers. As I said, we're going to be doing a quick run through the modifiers. Now this will not be the most professional. I'm pretty sure there was a better way to do this, a more professional way to do this. I wish I knew how, and I wish I could, because unfortunately I'm not super good with editing and things like that. So I record things live and I just kind of like put it all together and add a couple of things here and there. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into the modifiers. The first modifier we got for the month was Diverse, right? So here we got Diverse. Our wins on Diverse, as you can see here, were 3 wins on Diverse and 2 losses on Diverse. That gives us a 60% win rate on Diverse, which is extremely exciting. It means that Diverse, you know, although it makes the game more flavorful, the fact that we get cards from all the characters, which we can then break the game with by getting Defect cards on the Silent, Ironclad cards on the Defect, etc, etc. You guys get the picture. It really is a nice modifier that I like, and it definitely adds some flavor to the runs, because you could accidentally stumble across a game-breaking combo, which you wouldn't usually think of even. So a very, very nice modifier for daily. That is Diverse, sitting on a 6% win rate. So one we don't need to worry too much about. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. We'll see the more impactful modifiers coming up very soon. Our next modifier we had on the, also ironically the 1st of July. I will not be saying the dates, as I will not be able to keep track of all the dates. That would be way too much work that I'm probably not going to invest the time into. But our next modifier we had was a Lethality. Now the reason why Lethality is so important is because, as you can see here, we have 1 win. Okay, we got 1 win with Lethality and 6 losses. That is a win percent ratio of 14.28%. That is a big problem. It's what I brought up in the previous episodes, was that I found Lethality to be such a difficult modifier to play with, that I wasn't sure how to work with it, how to win with it. If you think about it, statistically speaking, of our 9 losses we got in the whole of July month, 6 of those losses were due to lethality. That's a 66.67% repetitive, of course, or 66.66% repetitive. We round it off to 66.67. But you guys get the picture. The point is, 2/3 of our entire losses for the entirety of July month, 31 dailies, 6 of them, 2/3 of them, 66.67% of them was due to lethality. Lethality destroying us, giving us a 14.28% win rate. Something I need to personally go sit down and look at and think to myself, what cards synergize with lethality, and how can I prevent the enemy's bonus of lethality from affecting me, that I lose these runs, because I cannot win 1 out of 7 runs. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable for me. But that is how it is. Lethality, well done. You kicked my butt for July. Let's jump to the next one. The next modifier we had was binary. Now, binary was kind of like a tricky one. I always personally thought, binary, you know what? You're not a problem, binary. I ain't scared of you. I don't mind you, binary. But ironically, the stats do beg to differ slightly. We have 4 wins on binary, and we have 3 losses on binary. A little bit off. There's the 4 wins, there's the 3 on binary. So 4 wins on binary, 3 losses on binary, win percentage of 57.14%. That's not bad. It's above 50%, which is what I care about mainly. I would have preferred it to be slightly higher. Binary is like tricky, right? Because you don't think binary is difficult. You don't think binary is a modifier that you care about too much, because it's a situation of, oh look, I could have had 3 options, but now I get 2. But if you think about it in a wider context of the game, Slay the Spire is all about choices. You make choices as you play the game, and you build a deck around the choices you made, and you make progress through the Spire via those choices. So you had an option of taking a charged battery, which is a nice 7 block and 1 energy for the next turn, or a claw, or something completely on the other side of the scale, maybe Frostblast. These are 3 completely different cards that do 3 completely different things. We have Frostblast, which gives us damage, a good amount, 9 damage if I'm correct, and 2 frost armor, thus 2 block every turn. You have Charged Battery on the other hand, which gives you 7 block, which is better than a basic defend, which is extremely important in Slay the Spire, because you would like 1 energy cards that are better than basic defense, and extra energy for the next turn. So if you know you've got expensive cards in the deck and you want to play multiple cards on your next turn, it's a good setup for that future. But if you are running an all-for-1 deck and you are trying to do as much damage as you can, as fast as you can, and bring all those cards back and doing it again, you're going to take the claw. But now what happens if you're playing and you only get those 2 of those options? Now you're playing in this sudden situation of, I get claw and Frostblast. Frostblast does good damage, but I don't have enough block in my deck, and I do not have an all-for-1 at all, and I have no other 0 costing cards, so now claw looks really bad. But so I take the Frostblast for the 2 armor, and then my damage output is mediocre for the rest of the run, because I'm not getting that upgraded claws to get me multiple damage instances. Do you understand? So binary actually is much more impactful on a Slay the Spire run, as you would think, but not to the point of a lethality destroying our win rates. As you can see, sitting here with a 57.14% win rate. Binary, I'm fine with you. I would like to see more of you in the future. For now, we're going to jump to our next modifier. Our next modifier we have is Insanity. Personally, one of my favorite modifiers in the game. Starting with a deck of 50 cards is always never bad. I personally always add as many cards to a deck as I can. I just really enjoy it. Like, the more cards in the deck, it's just more options every round for how to handle every situation. If I've got 50 cards, I've got more cards to deal with each unique enemy and their attack pattern and their debuff pattern. So I personally love Insanity, and it shows. 5 wins, 0 losses, 100% win rate with Insanity. Insanity, you know, maybe we got an Ironclad, maybe we got in the Defect, who knows? All I know is that I've got 100% win rate with Insanity, and I happen to enjoy and love the modifier. I'm not sure how much that impacts my playstyle, the fact that I actually do enjoy Insanity, and I see Insanity and I look at it, I'm like, you know what? This is something I like. I like having big decks with lots of cards, multiple options, multiple choices, and multiple synergies. I'm not a guy that likes a 10 card deck that synergizes amazingly, but has to have perfect play, the right starting hand potentially, you know, that type of situation. I like it, don't get me wrong. A nice little beautiful consistent deck such as the Dropkick Vulnerable deck I've had multiple times before in the past. You know, it's very sexy, it's very fun, but I prefer a little bit of Insanity. What can I say? So it's Insanity sitting at 5 wins, 0 losses, and 100% win rate. Not much to say about it. It's just really good. I like it, and I would love to see more of it. I will meet you all at the next modifier. And here on our next modifier, Midas. Midas being red is actually funny because if you think about it, Midas isn't actually a bad modifier at all. Enemies drop 200% more gold, but you cannot upgrade cards with rest stats. Now, Midas, ironically, synergizes extremely well with cards such as Insanity, Hoarder, etc. because modifiers such as Insanity or Hoarder, I apologize once again, live recording, I'm gonna make a couple of mistakes every now and then. Anyway, back to the story. Insanity, you're not gonna want to upgrade cards. There's just too many cards. You're gonna want to upgrade a Seek here or there, I understand, but there's just too many cards. Hoarder, same situation. I add 3 cards of a deck to my card to my deck. I can upgrade 1 of them. I cannot upgrade all 3 of them. I can upgrade 1 of them. So Midas is negative, is not that big of a deal, but the positive is huge. You're buying more cards, you're buying more relics, you're removing more cards at the shop, you are buying potions at the shop, you're getting the point bonus for the daily from having more money. Midas should be a positive modifier in my opinion, and the stats do agree with me. Sitting on 5 wins and 2 losses, our boy Midas is sitting on a 71.42% win rate, which is pretty impressive considering it's one of the red more negative modifiers. I want to say, I kind of think like red is for the Ironclad, obviously green for the Silent, and blue for the Defect is what it truly comes down to. But I like to think that red is like the negatives because they like lethality, big game hunter, curse run, you know, stuff that are supposed to be scary and dangerous, but I kind of like. For now though, Midas not too bad. Once again, sitting on 71.42% win rate over here, not bad at all. More Midas runners in the future I have no problem with. They can get you if a Midas run pops up with, say, something like Night Terrors. You know, you don't want to rest because you're losing max HP, but oh no, you have to rest because you cannot upgrade cards at the rest side. So, you know, Midas, it can have its little bit of problems, but it's more about the type of modifier that's put with Midas. But for all in all, I do enjoy Midas, and I don't mind more Midas in the future. Our next modifier is a modifier that I personally think is too strong and should be nerfed / changed / dropped completely from the game. That is Vintage, of course. Normal enemies drop relics instead of cards. Now, lots of people disagree with this. Actually, I've had a nice conversation with a few of my friends and viewers about this. Is Vintage OP? Yes, I think Vintage is OP. Lots of people tell me no, it's not OP because you are not getting cards. Thus, you will be running your entire run with your starting deck of just normal 5 to 6 damage strikes. I think it's 6 if I'm correct. 6 damage strikes for 1 energy, which are horrible damage outputs for the energy cost. 5 defend for 1 energy, which is a horrible defensive system for 1 cost. And then the 1 or 2 special cards per character. Now, yes, you make a good point, but you are missing the bigger point. Vintage is OP. Say Spire is about relics. Relics make the run. If you get more relics, your chance of getting a better run is insanely higher. The fact that relics such as Toxic Egg, Molten Egg, Frozen Egg exist, relics such as Gold Coin, buy the cards at the shop you're just not picking up, buy the cards you want instead of taking cards you're taking out of necessity, removing cards, buying more relics, getting potions just from a few money relics such as Duvidol, Dark Rift, synergies that float through the air with those relics such as Snake Skull and I think it's Bottled Venom, the little lizard in the jar. Really good relics that synergize extremely well, but now you don't usually see them because you don't get that many relics. But now all of a sudden you're getting a relic after every battle. You're getting relics on Kunai with Oriental Fan, with Shuriken. Boom, damn, attacks 3 times, get multiple block, get multiple strength up, get multiple dex up. It's just really good. It allows for more synergies, it allows for more combos, it allows for more winning. So I personally think Vintage is extremely OP. Vintage is too strong, and the stats don't lie. 6 wins, 0 losses, and 100% win rate on Vintage makes me tell you, you know what? I think Vintage is OP, and if you don't agree with me, I'm sorry, it's nothing, we can't be friends, it's just how it is. Of course, I'm being way too serious. Vintage, really strong, super OP. It's kind of in the same vein as Cursed Run, extremely strong, extremely OP in my personal opinion. Maybe a necessity, you know, having it there to balance out the negative daily thing. So when you see a Vintage, like, oh, Vintage, free win, I'm so happy. After yesterday's the 32 run, I'm so glad to see a Vintage run. I don't know. Vintage, I think you're really strong, 100% win rate on it. Very nice modifier. Let's head over on to the next one. Our next modifier is like, it's a tricky one. It's Specialized, right? So Specialized, you start with 5 copies of a single rare card. It's great. I like starting with 5 copies of a single rare card. But it's also extremely terrifying. If you guys have been paying attention, been following my series, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. It can really fuck you. I'm sorry for the foul language if it is what it is, but I have to say it will fuck you, okay? Get 5 Nightmares and play a run. 5 Nightmares. Nightmares cost 3 energy. Have Specialized and Hoarder, and get 5 Novas. And Hoarder gives you 3 copies of each Nova, and you get 50 Novas. Do you know how bad that is? Do you know what it feels like to draw into 5 Novas on a turn? If you only draw 5 cards, of course, usually that would be on the Defect. That's actually possible. You could potentially draw 5 Novas. That's a dead turn. Nova does no damage because you have not played any powers. So it's like a situation of Specialized can really F you, but it could also be really great. And you could potentially get 5 extremely good rares that just synergize with here. We had a rainbow run, double rainbow run. It was super fun. We got 5 rainbows and we just rainbowed. I really enjoyed it. If you look at the stats though, we're seeing on only 4 games played, so only 3 wins and 1 loss. Very few Specialized runs in this month, but 3 wins, 4 loss, 75% win rate, not too bad. It's a tricky one. Specialized is a 50-50 in my eyes. Sometimes it can 100% F you. Other times it 100% wins the run for you. So Specialized, you on the fence a little bit with me. I don't know how I feel about you. All I know is I'm sitting with 75% win rate, and that makes me feel good. Let's go check out our next modifier. Our next modifier is Hoarder. Now Hoarder, it's also pretty much a tricky one. Hoarder can be really good, because there's a card in the game called Mind Blast, which is broken, and everyone knows it. And if you get Hoarder and you buy a Mind Blast, you instantly get 3 Mind Blasts. All 3 Mind Blasts are innate. So if you have 6 energy now, which used to be 0 energy back in the day, you pretty much win the run. Because let's be honest, if I'm adding 3 cards every single time I get a card option, and I usually end the run with about 35 to 45 to even potentially 55 cards, I'm gonna have roughly 120 to 150 cards in my deck at the end of the run. Now if I've got 120 to 150 cards, that means each Mind Blast is sitting for potentially 110 to 115 damage. Should you be lucky enough to get marbles, you will get a situation of they are vulnerable and they're taking 175 damage per Mind Blast roughly, which is insane if you think about it. Bosses just mount to Mind Blast Hoarder runs. Of course, the opposite can happen, where you cannot get Mind Blast and your deck can get so bloated with cards that you do not want multiple copies of, that you find yourself in a bad situation. You get 3 Echo Forms. You're like, no, I don't want 3 Echo Forms. Although 3 Echo Forms is a bad example because it kind of works. What happens if you get 2 in the same hand? You can only play one of them get Ethereal when they die. And that's unfortunate, especially if you get Hoarder and Midas. It makes it really hard to use Hoarder appropriately. Hoarder and Midas are probably the 2 most anti-synergistic modifiers, because you never want to upgrade cards with Hoarder because you can only upgrade 1 at a time and you're getting 3, as well as the fact that you can't even upgrade cards with Midas. So the Hoarder cards such as Mind Blast, which are really good, Echo Form, which will Ethereal out, stuff like that, you can't upgrade anywhere. Hoarder has other potential uses, of course, such as Pummel Strike, Perfected Strike runs, broken strong, absolutely game breaking strong. You just keep adding those strikes, and every time you draw a Perfected Strike, of which you usually have 6 or 9 of, you hit for about 200 damage. So Hoarder, it's an easy modifier. I like it, of course. More cards the merrier, I always say. So I'm a big fan of Hoarder. As you can see here, we are sitting on a beautiful 4 wins and 1 loss on the Hoarder, 80% win rate. Perfectly acceptable in my eyes, but it makes sense for the type of modifier that is. Let's jump on to our next one. I think we've said enough about Hoarder. The modifier itself is just too good in my opinion. potentially make it a little bit more difficult. No longer move cards from the deck at a merchant. I wasn't going to. I have too many. I'm never going to be able to balance the deck out. I mean, maybe I get 3 Apotheosis, I remove 2, that would be good. But still, negative here. It's not a big enough negative mega crit. If you want to do something about it, I would say change this negative to something more critical, something much more difficult. Just spitballing it here, as they say. Maybe something along the lines of, maybe you add a card to your deck, add 2 additional copies, but the additional copies cost 1 energy more. I think that would be too tough. That would be too tough. Maybe maybe add 2 random cards. I don't know. It's tricky. It's tricky. Hoarder, it's in a funny place right now. But anyway, as I said, I think we've said enough about that. Let's move on to our next one. Our next modifier is All-Star. Kind of a underwhelming, unappreciated modifier, but a modifier that seems to get me. Because if we look here on our beautiful All-Star modifier, we are only seeing 2 wins and 3 losses. That is a 40% win rate. That is unacceptable in my eyes. Anything under 50% is unacceptable. But with 5 runs to pull from stats for the whole of July month 2018, there's not much to really say about it, except for the fact that, yes, we only won 2 runs and we had a 40% win rate. All-Star is this kind of card that you start with 5 random colorless cards, and it's usually good, but there's cards called Panic Button, Crystallis, Enlightenment, those type of things. We don't like them. We see them, we understand them, but we don't like them, you know. Give me Flash of Steel, give me Finesse, give me Jack of all trades. Don't give me Transmutation. Don't give me 2 Transmutations, because that's unacceptable. That is horrible. I hate that card. Okay, Transmutation can actually go jump off a cliff in my opinion. So it explains why the win rate's low. You can kind of tell from my commentary in the games that ironically these modifiers that I don't like, that are kind of RNG based, because I do personally really hate RNG, I have low win rates. I'm not sure if this is a psychological situation where I'm losing runs with these modifiers due to the fact that I do not like them, or if it makes the game harder. I have not decided yet. All I know, All-Star, 40% win rate. A funny modifier, sometimes good, sometimes bad, mainly bad, but a necessary one, as it adds a little bit more of a difference. If you get All-Star with Hoarder though, you will hate your life. Potentially, or you might love your life. You might get 3 Mind Blasts, who knows, you might love your life. But that is All-Star for you. We'll jump on to the next modifier. Our next modifier is probably the most hated modifier in the full community of Slay the Spire. Certain Future. We hate Certain Future. We don't hate it as much as we hate Lethality on a win rate basis, but we hate Certain Future nonetheless. Certain Future ruins Slay the Spire. Certain Future makes dailies unfun. I've said it, Megacrit, I've said it, I'm not even ashamed. Certain Future has no positives, only negatives, and is not fun and not nice. What is fun about Slay the Spire? Well, it's looking at the multiple options you have and the multiple paths you have to take, deciding on a path and then adjusting said path by the choices you make along the path. That is the definition of Slay the Spire. The entirety of the game revolves around you making decisions on what pathing to take and where to go. Certain Future destroys that. Destroys that. It says you shall take one path. Shall you pick the wrong card, go for a synergy that does not work, make a wrong relic choice, or get a curse that you shouldn't have taken early, you are effed. There's no changing it. There's no saving it. There's no oops, I made a misclick and lost 10 extra HP, but now I've got to fight an elite. Nope, I'm just going to skip this elite and go around it because I can't afford to fight it right now. No, it doesn't exist. Oh no, I got a monster, 2 question mark rooms, and then an elite. fight, and it was the monster was nothing, but I lost too much HP on the question mark because I gambled a little bit too hard on the relic HP loss, and then I took the money and I for the damage against the scoop, and then I fought an elite and it was the Lagavulin and I died. Oh no. Certain Future is probably my personal least favorite modifier, slightly off the lethality, but the stats do show only 5 games out of Certain Future in the full of July, so not too bad, sitting on 2 wins, 3 losses, a 40% win rate, just the same as All-Star, but a modifier that I personally hate tremendously. I absolutely tremendously hate Certain Future, and I will be happy if that gets changed or just straight up removed from the game. Let's jump to our next modifier, a modifier I actually used to hate but I now love. Right above Certain Features, our next modifier, Terminal. Terminal was a modifier that I used to think was stupid. I read it, I said to myself, Mega Crit, are you honest? Look at this Terminal. Whenever you enter a new room, lose 1 max HP start each combat with 5 plate armor. I was like, I never cared about the 5 plate armor because I was like, I'm gonna lose 60 HP on this run and I only have 75 as the defect. What am I going to do? Well, I was wrong. Terminal's great. I love Terminal. I'm going to tell you why I love Terminal. Let's take a scenario. You are making your way through a Spire and you get to the first elite fight. Oh no. Bam, bam, bam. It is the sentries. You're like, no, not the sentries. They do 8 damage a hit and they hit 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2. But wait. If they hit 1 and then 2 and then 1 and then 2, I can play 1 block and then focus on the other one. And as long as there's only 8 damage coming each turn, I could potentially outblock this damage and get an elite perfect I usually would have missed for the loss of 1 HP. With the amount of HP relics in the game and cards such as Feet that can get you main HP Dark Deprived if you go Curses for more max HP, Terminal has turned into one of my absolute favorite modifiers, and the stats once again show. Sitting on 4 wins and 1 loss, we have an 80% win rate with Terminal. I'm ecstatic about that fact. Terminal, you are one of my favorite modifiers. Please do not change this modifier. I think it's exactly balanced. I think it's exactly right, and I'd love to see more Terminal in the future. Now we're going to get to the best modifiers in the game, the ones that just keep getting better and better and better, and I'll see you soon. The next modifier is the best, #1 strongest modifier in the entirety of Slay the Spire, Cursed Run. Cursed Run is stupid. It's absolutely stupid. Cursed Run might be the strongest modifier in Slay the Spire, of course, in my opinion. Starting with 3 relics, straight off the bat, Curse Key, Darkstone Deprived, and Duvidol are just amazing. Duvidol gives you 1 extra strength each curse in your deck, and you are getting curses due to Curse Key. But wait, Curse Key gives you extra energy. You now suddenly have 4 energy from the first room encounter. 4 energy, imagine that. That's a guaranteed 2 attacks every turn, because you usually only need 2 blocks on the first floor to maintain your HP, to maintain enough block to not take damage. And even if you need 3, usually you would take 3 and have to pass the turn. No, now you take 3 and you do an extra turn. And let's not even talk about Darkstone Deprived, a relic that you hate to see in the game except for this very unique circumstance. Darkstone Deprived I hate as a relic because I feel it's always so specifically situational that it's never going to happen. Darkstone Deprived is a situation of like, I get it, anytime past the second area, the city, I don't care about it. It's not going to pay for itself. There's just no way. But started with the beginning of the run and Curse Key, so I'm guaranteed to get curses. Excuse me, 6 HP per curse. I add curses at every chest, 1 chest per floor, 1 boss per floor. That's 12 HP per a floor. More HP means more heal at rest sites, means higher tankability, means higher survivability. And then don't get me started on Duvidol. I have to add curses to the deck because I want the 100-point bonus for dailies. I have to add curses due to Curse Key, and I'm getting max HP, but then you're going to throw me in some free damage, yo? Come on. Cursed Run, I love you. Marry me, I will marry you. If it's legal to marry a modifier, I shall marry this modifier because this is my favorite modifier. And the stats once again show it. 6 wins, 0 losses, 100% win rate. Curse Run, I love you. Give me more of those. I'll do it every day of my life. Curse Runs are fun. They easy. easier than normal, and I just personally love it. Every time I see a cursed one, I get excited and I get happy. Let's jump on over to our next modifier. Our next modifier right underneath cursed one is Big Game Hunter. Big Game Hunter elites enemies are now swarming the Spire and drop better rewards. I love Big Game Hunter. You know why? Because unless you get a certain feature I think I've never seen, Big Game Hunter is optional. There's multiple elites on multiple paths and you can choose how many you want to fight. So depending on how your run is going, you can choose how many elites you want to fight. The more elites you fight, the more points you get better rewards from these said elites you're fighting, which you're fighting more of, so you're getting stronger as you fight elites, and every time you perfect you get even more bonus points. Big Game Hunter is fun. Big Game Hunter is great. I love it. Leave more Big Game Hunter in the game. 5 wins, 0 losses, 100% win rate. There's nothing more to say about it. It is a great modifier. So I'm going to go on to our next one. Brewmaster. Start with 5 copies of Alchemized and White Beast Statue. This was a modifier I hated. When Spire started, I hated this modifier. I looked and I was like, no, don't give me this modifier. But then why am I sitting with 6 wins and 0 losses with a 100% win rate? Well, let me tell you. Potions have been buffed and are way better. Having 5 alchemizers, specifically when you upgrade them to Considerable Mana, means I'm usually playing an alchemist and getting a permanent bonus for that fight in the form of weakening the enemy, vulnerabling enemy, getting strength up, getting dex up, getting plated armor, getting blocked to not take a massive hit, getting strength up with steroids, getting dex up with speed to get a boost of strength, a boost of defense when necessary, getting HP regen if I'm losing HP, getting an HP burst, getting a Gambler's Brew to change my hand if I do not like what I have currently, drawing cards with Swift Potions, getting energy out of it. It's just so good. I'm sure there are even potions I've missed, focus potions, other potions I've missed, definitely, no doubt in my mind. Thorn potions, ancient potions. I think they're called ancient potions, the ones that negate negative effects on your character. Brewmaster is amazing. White Beast Statue allows you to get a potion after every single room, meaning when you go into a fight you already have 1 extra bonus added. You have 1 positive, 1 bonus that is making you better. Brewmaster, OP, extremely strong, almost close to, if not as strong as Curse Run. 6 wins, 0 losses, 100% win rate. Enough said about that, let's move on. Our next modifier on the modifier train is Time Dilation. Time Dilation is a 50-50 modifier in my opinion, although I am currently sitting on 4 wins and 1 loss for July at an 80% win rate. Time Dilation is... it's good. Obviously Time Dilation is good. There's no arguing. I can't argue the fact that Time Dilation is a good modifier. Every card I play adds a 10% damage increase to the next card that gets played. I mean, it's an amazing, amazing ability. But the problem comes in, when do you want Time Dilation? You don't want it on little scrub battles, little monsters you encounter while flying this up the Spire. You want it on boss battles and elite battles, specifically the 2nd and 3rd floor. Now the problem with this is, although the 2nd floor's elites do not wreck you, there is a specific boss that does. The Bronze Automatum negates the effect of Time Dilation. The Donor and Decker boss on the Beyond negate the effect of Time Dilation. I'm pretty sure there are multiple other enemies throughout the Spire that negate the effect of Time Dilation. It's a modifier that gets negated by enemies, although it does eat one of the negate charges, which is lovely. Do not get me wrong, a Donor and Decker, when you have marbles and Time Dilation, have no negates, so you can get a vulnerable / weakness on them. I love it, it's great, it's beautiful, but it destroys Time Dilation for me personally as a modifier. I don't want to see it because I do not like the negative that some, it's a situation of, I'm like, please don't give me bronze on red, please don't give me bronze on red, please don't give me Donor Decker, please. And I don't want to play Slayer Spike. I'm like, give me what you're going to give me, I'm going to kick its butt. And that's how I want to play Slayer Spike, and that's what I like. But we are sitting on an 80% win rate with it. 4 wins, 1 loss, 80% win rate. So obviously we are doing something right, and it is doing something right. We're going to jump on over to our next modifier, which is directly on top of Time Dilation. Our next modifier, as I said, directly on top of Time Dilation is Heirloom. Start with 1 rare relic. This is just meh. It's just meh. It's like, okay, you gave me a rare relic, cool. Sometimes you give me fucking Lizard's Tail, and other times you give me Cursed Bowl. It's 50-50, but sometimes it's great, sometimes it's just trash. Sometimes you actually give me relics that I don't even want, such as Snecko Eye. Just FYI, by the way. So Heirloom is a 50-50 thing. Could be good, could be bad. 50-50 on my case though. We've only had 3 runs with in the full of July. 1 loss, 2 wins, meaning we only have a 33.34% win rate on Heirloom, which is disgusting and completely unacceptable in my personal opinion, but it's what it is. Heirloom, I don't think there's much to say about it. I just think it's 50-50. It's okay. Give it to me, don't give it to me. I don't really care. Sometimes you fuck me, sometimes you make my one super easy. So, you know what, Heirloom? You do you, man. I'm okay with that. Let's move on to the next one. And our next modifier we have here is Night Terrors. Night Terrors, it's not that bad. Night Terrors is pretty bad. Arresting sights heals 100% HP, but costs 5 max HP. If we look over here onto the side, we have 3 wins and 1 loss, sitting on a 75% win rate. That's pretty good. The reason I don't mind Night Terrors, even though you lose 5 max HP, is because you never really rest in Spire. Let's be honest. Like on the first floor, you sometimes go the entire first floor, all the way up to the first floor boss, without even resting once. So Night Terrors I find to be like, it's not that big of a deal. And what's very nice about it is that it actually incentivizes not resting. So like, do the entire floor, don't rest, upgrade your card instead, or toke, or lift, or whatever you want to do inside the rest area, but don't rest, because when you get to the boss, you're going to instantly rest to full HP. So you're going to be fighting almost every boss on first floor boss, second floor boss, third floor boss. You usually will be on full HP. Of course, there is going to come the occasion we want to rest in between floors and things, but mainly you're just going to rest before every boss, never rest again, and you can lose 5 HP per floor. It's pretty much a worse version than Terminal, but it's really not bad. Night Terrors, 3 wins, 1 loss, 75% win rate. Nothing else to really say about that. A very basic modifier that I don't mind too much or don't care about too much, so it's just one of those things. Let's head on over to our final modifier. Our last and final modifier, which there were only 3 runs for the entirety of July month, where we were on 2 wins and 1 loss, sitting on a 66.67% win rate, is Shiny. I like Shiny, okay? But I hate Shiny. Shiny is like a hero dependent modifier. Ironclad, great. Silent, shit. Defect, OP, strong. So if you get Shiny with a Defect, it's pretty much a guaranteed win in my personal opinion. Silent, it's going to be hard, and Ironclad is 50-50. So Shiny, it's really balanced in my opinion, depending on which hero you get with. But if you get Shiny and the Defect, just know you're in it for a good time, because the Defect's rares are really strong, and they synergize very well, except for Nova, of course. So it's kind of interesting why Shiny exists. The fact that you just remove my entire deck and give me 1 of every rare card could be seen as a negative, but I take it as a positive, because we are seeing a 66.67% rate. All in all though, Shiny, I kind of feel like it comes down to your skill, your player skill in the game, your understanding of the game, and how to use those rares, because you have no other cards. But I just want to point out that there has been a very terrifying thing to happen to me. I have got Shiny, and I have got Vintage, which I think I missed. I skipped Vintage by accident. And yeah, you can get wrecked. You can get absolutely wrecked if you get Shiny and Vintage together. They will destroy you. I think that's enough about Shiny. Let's head on to the closing statements. And there you have it. That is my Slay the Spire July 2018 daily retrospective. This is just something I threw together because of frustration that arose after losing so many runs and realizing that Lethality, which only had a 14.28% win rate and was part of 6 of our 9 losses, that's 66.67% attribute addition added to our losses. Like, we mainly lost due to the fact that Lethality was the modifier for that daily specifically. So I went and I looked at the stats because I wanted to know what was happening. Why was I losing these lethality stats? Obviously, it's my own lack of skill, understanding of the game, and knowledge about how to interact with lethality that is causing these losses. But I wanted to know, and because I wanted to know, I went and I dug a little deeper, and that is what this episode was. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This was something I'm not sure if I'll do again. It was a little bit of work, not that I mind it, but I do work a full-time job, but I actually extremely enjoyed it. And if this is something you guys want to see more of, and this is something you like, please let me know in the comments, because I would love to do this at the end of every month and look at our month and our retrospective and see where have we improved, where have we got better. We now know that the silent, it's got a 58.33% win rate. We need to work on that. But we know the Ironclad and the Defect are sitting at around 80% each. Although the Ironclad had a much lower showing of just 5 games, we now know that the Ironclad and Defect are our stronger heroes, and the Silent we are lacking a bit. We are doing a little bit worse on Silent, something we need to work on. All in all, we had a total of 31 dailies, of course, 31 days in July, of which 22 were wins and 9 were losses, and a grand overall win percent of 70.96%, which is acceptable, and I give myself a big fat B. Anyway, without further ado, that is going to be the end of this episode, or this little fancy retrospective. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think I did an okay job, considering not the greatest editor out there or anything. Everything I do is self-taught, and I do the best I can with what I have. So thank you very, very much for watching. If you guys watched the full video, I really appreciate it. I really like it. Leave any helpful comments and tips on how I could improve these retrospectives. Let me know if you even want to see these retrospectives, and let me know what was your best hero and what was your worst modifier. I want to know, was it lethality like mine? Let me know. Did you get a 100% win rate with your lethality? Maybe. It's possible. It could happen. For now, thank you all, and I'll see you next time with more normal Slay the Spire dailies.